Hey everyone, it's Cathy Zielske. Welcome back to my channel and the craft/dining room. Today I am so excited to reveal the new release from Colorado Craft Company. There are 5 new sets from the amazing illustrator Anita Jeram and 3 new additions to the Big and Bold collection. In addition to the new release that I'll be sharing, I'll be creating 2 card projects. Both feature painting with distress inks. Distress inks are so all-purpose and I love pulling them out to use as watercolors. In my second card today, I have a great opportunity to share the importance of sentiment placement because I didn't do it the way I wish I had, and I'm going to explain why. Also, if you stick around to the end, I'm going to tell you how you can enter for a chance to win all of these glorious new stamps from Colorado Craft Company. The reveal and the card projects coming up next. The first release in the Anita Jeram collection is New Baby. Okay, how adorable is this? Little greetings to welcome that new baby. So charming. The next set is called Tea Time. Look at these little mice and their teacups. Sugar, dunking biscuits. Oh, adorable. Tea Time. We also have the Happy Easter, and this is what I'll be using today. I fell in love with this little image of the 3 bunnies together, but very sweet for Easter. The next set is a simple thank you. Greetings of gratitude, a cute little mouse thinking about what he's going to write, a kitty with a box that he's just opened. And the last one is So Sweet Slimline. So this is a long happy birthday sentiment and long sub-sentiments along with all the little mice that you could line up on a slimline. So cute. So that is the Anita Jeram collection, and there are coordinating dies for all of these sets. Let's move on to Big and Bold. All right, the first one is Citrus Berry Cupcake. That is a big old cupcake, and you could send this to anyone who needed a little boost, a little cheer. Here is the Slimline ice cream, and this big cone is big enough for a Slimline card. But the cool thing is about these bigger stamps is you can also have them sort of bleeding off the edge of any size card. This is the Slimline Macarons, which is what I am going to be working with today as well because I have a sweet tooth and I just think that stack for a Slimline card is super fun. So those are the new releases. Now let's get into making some cards. So let's begin with the supplies. I've got a slew of distress inks and I'm going to use this big stamp. And I've got a piece of Tim Holtz Heavystock, the heavy Tim Holtz paper that I thought would be nice for stamping and using water. I've got some VersaFine ink because that will work with water and it won't smear. And those are the basics. So let's get started with stamping. I've already trimmed that panel of cardstock down so that it will be, I think it's 3 by, what do I have this on the side, 3 by 8 maybe. And the first things first, I'm going to rub on this stamp because it's brand new. And you know when stamps first come, they have a little coating from manufacturing. So I just rub my hands over it to remove the coating. And now I'm going to ink up with the VersaFine. I love this onyx black. It's super inky. And again, you can paint with it. And even though I am not the fanciest painter in the world, I was pretty excited about this because I need some more practice. I'm going to grab my little Debbie tool. This was sent to me by a wonderful viewer on YouTube, and her hubby now makes them. I will have a link below. But I'm going to press down here and get the best first impression that I can. The thing about this tool, it just helps me with wrist pain. And I do have wrist pain, and it's much easier for me to come at something with the side and have a tool to help me add pressure. All right, my first impression wasn't what I wanted, so the beauty of the MISTI, you ink it up and you stamp it down again in the exact same place and you get the impression you're looking for. Now time to paint. I'm just going to smush down my ink cubes onto my little water media mat here. And this is what I'm going to use to paint. I love that you can do so many things with inks, whether it's distress ink, whether it's, regular dye inks, you can paint with them. And I need to do this more because the colors are so pretty and they're so easy to use. And for this little stack of macaroons, and is it macaroon or is it macaron? I could have Googled this, but why Google when you have YouTube comments? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think you do. Let me know, because I'm not sure. I always thought it was macaron, but maybe it's macaron? Je ne sais pas. But here's what I'm doing. I'm just creating a stack. Now, initially, I was going to do a full rainbow, but then I thought, you know what? I want this to be a little warmer. I don't want to introduce the cool tones of the rainbow. And I swear every time I see these in a bakery, there are more pinks than there are blues and greens. I mean, I know they can be pretty much any color that you can food dye, but this is what I'm sticking with. I have a decent sized brush here, I think. Is this a number 6 or an 8? I don't remember, but it's going to be linked below. I could have probably gone with a smaller brush, but because this is such simple painting, I figured, how bad can I do on this? And I did go out of the lines a few times, but I think when you're doing something that has a watercolor look, that's okay, right? It's supposed to look a little imperfect, and these are definitely a hand-drawn image, so, yeah. Oh, right there, a little bit out. It's going to be fine. Moving along. Although I did have a little a bristle hanging off that I did end up cutting because it was bugging me. I could see it while I was painting, and I was afraid that it was going to splatter Distress ink where I didn't want it. So I gave it a little haircut. You can do that. Now, once I got the yellow down, I decided to just repeat in reverse order. And what that does is it gives me a nice little bit of repetition from top to bottom. And anytime you can reinforce a pattern or a theme or a color on a card project, it contributes to the overall unity of what you are creating. And unity in design, that's a good thing. Brought in a little more pink and just shaded that out a tiny bit. But those are my stacked treats. Now I'm going to set that aside to completely dry. And I want to show you this. I have a Slimline envelope in black from Simon Says Stamp, which I've been wanting to use. So I'm going to take a piece of Simon Black cardstock and cut this down to be, well, it's 8.5 wide by 7. So now I can use this to create my Slimline card base. I'll score it right at 3.5, and of course not go all the way down on my score tool, right? You don't need an oversized score tool to do this. You just flip it like that. And then I'll go back to that 3.5 mark, create the rest of the score here, and now we are ready to fold our Slimline card down. Of course, it is a side opening, but that's fine. I don't have a problem with I'm not just a top folding kind of girl, but I'm pressing that down, and you can see how cute is that going to be on the panel. But it was a little warpy, so I set that aside and smushed it in a book panel just while I was working on this to flatten it out a little. I've got some more of that black cardstock, again, wiping off the production residue, powdering up this little piece of cardstock with embossing magic, which just helps oil and static to disappear and helps your powder to only stick where your embossing ink goes. But I must not have put enough powder down, and you're going to see in a minute because powder was going to stick everywhere. Still, stamping this down, giving it nice, even pressure. Not too much because I didn't want to smush down so hard that I ruined anything. But I thought that looked good. And I'll sprinkle on my white powder. This is Alabaster from Brutus Monroe. Let that shake on there, set for a second, and tap. And I knew right away, I don't think you got enough of that embossing magic. Or maybe it's just the climate in my house. It's very staticky and dry here. So I spent a little time with this angled brush. Don't be afraid to powder it away, or sweep it away, not powder it away. Don't be afraid to pick up that brush and spend some time cleaning it off. If that's your vibe. It's my vibe. Once it was swept enough to my liking, I melted the powder with my heat tool. Enjoy the sweet life. I trimmed this down with a little label die from Simon Says Stamp also. Just ran that through my die cut machine. And now I have a cute little sentiment greeting for my card, which I trimmed down from side to side. Now, for fun, I decided to stamp the macaron image onto the edge of the envelope. I'm using a bigger embossing pad here because I just thought you're gonna need a bigger boat. You know what I mean? When you gotta choose the right tool for the job. So brought in my bigger pad, inked that up, sprinkling this on the edge of the envelope. I love to do this. I love to take whatever the image is that I'm coloring and spending time with, and then on your envelope, repeating that image in a monochromatic sort of way. This got so much powder on, I don't even know what happened. But by the time I was done, I'm going to dust that all off. It's going to look fine, but I love that edge to edge, you know, the bleeding thing, right? Oh, love that. Popping that down. I brought in the gray cardstock so you could see the beautiful framing margin space. Also because it's almost impossible for me to line something up on a black mat. Popping the greeting on the very bottom to kind of draw the eye down. I thought that was a nice design balance. Super cute. And to finish this off, I just added 5 sequins. 5 little shiny sequins right down at the bottom, like that, and boop, and boop. 5 to add a little shine right around the greeting. And that's card 1. I think it turned out really cute, right? And the fun part, it's going to go right into that envelope, and you've got a whole presentation, right? The outside is like, what is that? What's happening here? And then, of course, when they pull out the card, they'll be able to go, ah, you know, because of the joy of seeing all that color. But I think it's really fun to do the Slimline cards, decorate your envelope. I'll have to put a white label on the front, or I could do it like in a white paint pen. Oh, might have to send this to my mom. The next card is an Easter card, and this is for my mother-in-law. Love that 3 bunny image. It's so cute. I have the same ink cubes, but I decided to bring in a tea dye color for that whole tea-stained rabbit look. I have a couple brushes. I'm only going to use the smaller one. And I've got some Artistica white Aquarello, it's hard for me to say that, watercolor paper. So I brought in this die panel, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, just to kind of position and envision what my card panel would look like. Because initially I thought I would do a full-sized panel. I stamped this image 3 times, and this is version 3. I figured you don't have to see me do it 3 times, but I stamped it 3 times to get that perfect impression. And then it was time to start painting. So I smushed that tea stain color. I drew this little line down at the bottom just so I could sample out the colors before I painted them, because I wasn't really sure, is this going to work? And I thought, this is kind of the thing I had in my mind, a little tea stained bunny. So I have this sped up a bit, just so you know, because I paint much slower than what you're seeing. But I thought to myself, all right, the light is going to come from the right. Okay, so there's some sun off to the upper right. The bunnies are all going to be shaded on the left side. And that's it. That's the extent of my understanding of light and shadow. But as soon as I did the first bunny, I don't know, I was feeling invincible. Like I can do anything. The thing is that distress inks are fun to paint with. You don't have to have the latest and greatest fancy watercolors, right? When you can get looks like this. I have learned this from my friend Christina Werner, who, when I watch her paint with distress ink cubes, and it blows my mind what she's able to do. So I'm going to try to do this more and more, because I feel like I'm more comfortable with distress inks sometimes than I am with actual watercolor paints, and they're very easy to use. But again, this is really simple, right? I'm not going multicolor for my bunnies. They're all one color, and I'm just going to add a little depth here and there where I think it might be darker. The other great thing about taking a watercolor approach, these images are whimsical, right? They're super whimsical. Her style, Anita's style, is just so charming. So if your watercolor is not perfect, nobody cares. I mean, it's just going to make it look cuter, right? It's handmade. And I really was feeling confident the more I painted with just this one little color. Again, it's just a little trial and error, right? You pick up a little water, you dab some of it off. I accidentally painted brown in the bow, so I just wet it down and, dabbed it off. But it takes very little ink to achieve this look. And yeah, I was really excited. I forgot about Mama or Papa. I don't know if that's Mama or Papa. Forgot about his foot, but I'm coming in later for it. Next, to color the eggs. So simple. A pink egg. Add a little shading to the left side of the pink egg. An orange egg. That one I got the color a little too dark all the way around. It's fine. It's fine. It's super cute. I'm going to try to shade that out. And then I brought in that darker color, and that was way too dark, but we're going to fix that in a minute too. And that's the other thing that's kind of fun about watercolor. You can fix things. If you think something's too dark, you just wet it down a little and then grab that paper towel or cloth and just dab over it, and it lifts the ink off of the paper. Of course, I think it has to be pretty fresh. I don't know if you can do it when it's completely dry, but shading out that little bow, and then I wet down that egg, and look at that. As soon as I dabbed it, it's a lighter color. For the basket, I'm using the same tea dye color, just more saturated. So keeping that a little darker. I just wanted it to have contrast against the bunnies. I didn't want it to blend too much. So easy. For my green, I smushed down a bundled sage as well and mixed that with the other green, kind of to get the right green that I wanted. And here's where it all kind of came together for me. I wasn't sure how I was going to paint the bottom. I thought I was just going to do the little branch, or not branch, the grass blades. But I realized as soon as you do the whole bottom, you've grounded your scene. Your bunnies aren't just floating in the watercolor paper ether, right? They've got to have a place to be. And so I just wet down my brush, picked up the lightest amount of that color. Oh, and I'm so happy with how this is looking. You have no idea. I need to paint more. It's magical to me. I'm deepening up the yellow in that egg. Just wanted it a little brighter. And then I'm dabbing on a pink cheek on each bunny. And as soon as I get them down, I'm going to take a paper towel and just blot it up so that it's a little light and more shady. And that is the painting. Oh, next, I knew I wanted a colored card base. So I grabbed my swatch rings. I have cardstock rings for all of my cardstock collections because I like to be organized, and well, I guess I want to know what I have, but I'll pop a video up if you want to know how I did this, because it's really easy and it's such a useful tool. I settled on green leaf, but then I decided, you know what, you are going to trim your panel down, because if you're going to have a green leaf card base, you're going to trim the panel down. So I taped that down, ran that through my die cut machine, and put a little foam tape on the back and popped it up. Now, I think this is fantastic except for one thing. I don't love the placement of Happy Easter, and I wish that I would have stamped it later. But I'm going to show you why, and I'm going to explain why, shall we? It needed to be down further. The painting's so cute, though, I didn't want to start over, so here we go. Here's the original. This next slide image on the video would have been better, because it has more of a connection to the illustration. But the third option is what I wish I would have done, and that is to have stamped it nestled right in there, because then it all comes together and has unity. That is called gestalt, when all of the things come together and they feel more unified. Note to self, don't stamp it until the painting's done. So those are my two finished card projects today. If you want more inspiration from Colorado Craft Company, be sure to give them a follow over on Instagram. They are always going to be sharing wonderful things at Colorado Craft Company. Again, over on Instagram. Sentiment placement, it matters. And I need to remind myself, don't stamp that greeting until you've finished with the artwork. But I thought the artwork turned out so good. A little Photoshop is never going to hurt anyone. If you want to enter for a chance to win these glorious new sets from Colorado Craft Company, hop on over to my blog and leave a comment. That's all you have to do, and you will be entered for a chance to win either all 5 of the Anita Jeram sets or the 3 big and bold. The link to my blog can be found below this video in the information box, along with all of the supplies that I used in today's cards. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you back here with another card project soon. Thanks so much for watching today. I would love to have you become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. And if you do subscribe, be sure to hit the gray bell below the video so that you don't miss the next time I post. Here are a couple other videos that you might be interested in watching. Thanks so much and have a great day.